Welcome to my chess channel. On my chess channel I will feature amateur chess games that are played between people like you and me. So people that are not necessarily professionals but rather chess enthusiasts, and if you want to learn something from your games, if you want to see the mistakes you make in your own games, you should send me your content on my email I provided down below in the description. So, if you have some interesting games you played, or it doesn't matter, your games can even be bad, terrible, they can be funny, beautiful, just send me your games and I will probably review them and show them on my YouTube channel. And you will be able to see them here and see some of the great moves you made and learn stuff from the objective commentary here, and I hope I can help you to develop your chess skills, and in the meantime we can all have some fun. So let me show you the game I prepared today. Today I show you the game between two players that are rated around 2000, so solid chess players. They are not high-class players, but solid players that can play well. This was a blitz game, so a game where you don't have a lot of time and you may make a lot of mistakes. So bear with the players, have some understanding for them. We have the white player, his nickname is Towerlifter, he's rated 2191, and we have the black player, his nickname is Klitosaurus, and he's a bit lower rated, he's 2066. So the game begins with a very interesting opening, the Latvian gambit. A sharp, unexpected, crazy opening that features fun games, and that's why I showed this. That's why I'm showing this to you, so you can maybe learn something from this opening. So white starts standardly e4, black replies with e5, knight develops. Now you would expect something like this, but the first surprise comes to mind, and pretty much the only move you would never play is played in the Latvian gambit. Pawn to f5. What is this move? It seems like black just blundered the pawn, and Stockfish recommends you should take the pawn and accept the gambit. And now, although you took the pawn, although you have the pressure on this line, black can develop his knight and in the future have a pretty fast development and have some compensation for the lost pawn. Although, of course, if you play without mistakes, you will win as white. But in this game, white didn't take the pawn because he knew if you take the pawn, you can have some complications if you don't know what you're doing. So if you take the pawn in the Latvian gambit, black can attack your knight, black can develop fast, and it's unpleasant. So white tried to be tricky also, just like black. He plays bishop to c4. Another attacker on this line. Eventually he's trying to stop black from castling, and he still is attacking the pawn. Black replies. The best move recommended by the engine, black takes this pawn, attacks the knight, forces the knight to take the pawn. And now all seems great for white. White took the pawn, white is attacking by the bishop, by the knight. The queen can join. It just looks harmonically, and the only move black can play here to keep some initiative, to keep some chances, and to actually have a solid game is the move black did played in this game. So black knows what he's doing for now. He's strengthening up his center, he's attacking the bishop, and he's developing. So white here plays a move that is obvious, a move that all of you see, I'm sure. It's check with the queen. And white is hoping that he can take black's rook. Let's see how. Black is blocking, that's the only sensible move. And now when you block, white just took with the knight, and he was thinking, okay, I took with the knight, and now I'm threatening discover check, also I'm threatening the rook, I'm just winning. That's what white thought here. And actually, he is winning, objectively speaking. But black here can play a solid move. He didn't play it. He took with the pawn. And he gave a rook. That's what black did. But the better move here, that isn't so crazy, was knight to f6. Now black is attacking the queen. Black is stopping all the discovered ideas. Black is still attacking this bishop. Black is having some counterplay. White would now play this, probably. That's the best move. And now when black blocks, white can choose what he wants to do. He can take the rook, then he loses the bishop, and his knight is in the corner a bit. But it's a game that can still... Of course, white has the advantage, but black has some of his trump cards because his pieces are developed. He can easily put his knight here and attack the queen. And black has some advantages, but it's not still over. White here didn't play those moves because black didn't give him a chance. Black played crazy, like I showed you already. And he simply took the knight. He's saying to white, take my rook. I dare you to take my rook, I will have some compensation. And although in reality he will not have compensation, in practical play, in blitz game, black really does have a compensation when white takes the rook, because you will see what happens. So white took the rook. And now a human approach, a logical move, just closing up the queen. Taking as much squares as possible from white's queen. Now the queen can only go on h4. That's her only square. Otherwise she must stay in the corner, and she doesn't have a much... She cannot do a lot of things from there. So, logical move from black, and now white has to retreat his bishop because it's attacked. That's exactly what happens. Unfortunately for white, black now has the time for developing, and already is developed much more than white is, because look at these pieces. They're just sitting there and doing nothing. So the first piece that comes in play, the bishop, strengthening this pawn, great move, putting it on a logical square, stopping the bishop ideas over here. Let's continue. White should develop his knight. White should just develop his pieces slowly, and he will have an advantage if he does this. But white doesn't play like this, unfortunately. He's trying to be tricky. He's going with the pawn, h4. And white is hoping he can bust up this position here, this square, and attack the king again. So that's a plan that is simply too risky and not good. Black develops. Black ignores all this stuff happening here. He is playing wisely. White is going straight up, so hoping to do something here. Black ignores again. Knight comes on a great square, attacking c2, threatening check and taking the rook. What will white do here? White ignores this threat for the moment. And why? We will show you. He takes the pawn. And white was probably hoping that black would play this, and then, if white moves, if black now takes the rook, can you see a very unpleasant move from white that can happen? Pawn to g7. Now you attack the bishop. The bishop is over. It's gone. And you have this pawn that is very dangerous. So that would be some counterplay for white. Very dangerous. So this didn't happen. Black was very wise. After white took the pawn, black just simply retook with the bishop, instantly taking this dangerous pawn and not allowing anything for white. So that's the way black played here. Black gave white a rook in the beginning, but afterwards he didn't give him anything. White retreating with the bishop, the only way to protect this pawn. The other way was with the knight here, but that would be terrible because then this knight would eventually fall, and eventually the bishop would take the knight, and then you would have the threat. So this is the more logical move, but it's very passive. Now another sensible move by black, centralizing the queen, preparing to castle and going down, looking down at the king, through the middle, just hoping to push straight down the middle. Now, white finally develops the knight. Too late, but still. Castling comes to mind and it happens. Developing the final piece that wasn't developed for black. White is running away from the queen finally. She doesn't want to stay in this corner forever for the rest of the game, so she gives check. Unfortunately, this is actually a terrible move by white, because when he retreated, he should have considered this square. This is more logical, because when you retreat here, you cannot be attacked again. And by retreating and giving check, he just gave an extra tempo to black. Let's see. Blocking with the bishop. Everybody can see this move. It took time away from white, and time is precious for white here. So, queen comes here, attacks the knight. Just futile attempt. Protecting with the pawn. White wants to take away the pawn. Black says no. He's still protecting it. White simply wants to do this, but it ain't happening. Black is strengthening his position here. This knight is a monster, and white has to get rid of this knight. If your opponent has a dangerous piece, you have to get rid of it. That's what white is trying now. He's not such a bad player. He's 2100 rated. He wants to take away this knight. The problem is black will not allow this so easily. He attacks the queen. Another tempo for black. Black was probably up on the time here, and he was just taking the tempo away from the queen. And where can the queen go now? Let's look at this position. There are only few squares she can go at. This square, and she can go on the square she went in the game. So, f4. Now, black's best move was actually queen to here, as recommended by Stockfish. So Stockfish here recommends trading the queens because it probably sees that the black's pawn structure is very dangerous here. You have a central mass of pawns, you can go down, your pieces are more active, and probably the idea is to get rid of this queen and eventually break down white's position that is put too passive. But black doesn't take this approach. Black has a more human approach, as I already said. He has a more logical approach. He doesn't want to give his queen away because his queen is still an attacking piece, and I fully understand black. I would never trade queens in this position. So let's see what happened. Centralizing the queen, protecting the bishop also when the knight falls, and now the white should take the knight, because if your opponent has a dangerous piece, you should take it. But white plays first the rook here. He hopes of giving check with his queen and eventually giving mate here. There is no time for this, unfortunately, as black plays instantly, attacking the queen, stopping, cutting off the queen from this diagonal. So let's look at black's play. Black is an attacking player, you can see it. He has a flair for attack, but he also knows how to defend. So he instantly removes the threats that are possible. He plays simple chess here and just takes tempo away from white. White doesn't think in advance, and that's his main mistake. So now white took the knight, too late, although he's trying for some tricks. If black takes the queen, then you lose the queen this way, and you exchange pieces as white, and you stop the attack that black has. And probably you can win if this happens. But black is a tricky player. Black won't fall for this. Black takes the knight. That's the best move. He keeps the queens on the board. He keeps his initiative. Now the queen must move, of course, because it's attacked, but where can the queen go? If you look at this position, nowhere, because now again it's attacked with the rook. Another loss of the tempo. Queen retreats on h4, pretty much only place she can go at, and here she's just too passive and she's in a dangerous place. So I'm sure most of you would play the move it was played now in the game because it's so logical. When you see the king in the middle, you just want to slice up down to the middle with your pawns and bust up this structure. So that's what black plays. White must take this pawn, and now black retakes, busting up, and now the best thing to do for white, although he has already lost this game, his position is simply falling apart, but he should play this move, although it allows black to put his knight here and attack the rook. This is still a pleasant position for black, but this would have been a better move for white. But white didn't play this move. White instead played a terrible move that loses on spot. He castled. So that's really weird for a player of this rating to castle in this position. This shows that white was probably very low on time and didn't have the time to concentrate anymore. He just played the moves. He hoped he would protect his king a bit better, but this actually loses in a few ways. The most obvious way is this, forking the rook and the bishop. And now if you play the rook here, pinning the pawn, it doesn't help because you still make a queen here and pin the rook, and you just won a bishop. You can play even this. So you gave check. So this is a monster position now for black, and white would have to retreat here, and now you can calmly take the bishop, make a queen, and you must take this, and this is a winning position. I mean, simply you can see that this is winning for black. But black chose the more nicer way to finish the game, and the more accurate way. Stockfish recommends this move. This is the best move, and this is what black played. Black took the pawn, gave check. This is a beautiful move, and it's the fastest way to mate white. So let's see why. What can you do now? Can you take with the rook? No, you cannot, because then you have queen check. You must block with the rook. There is no other move. Then you lose the queen, and you will be checkmated in the second move. So you cannot take with the rook. So the only other move is to move the king here. But now you can all see all sorts of trouble that will happen. So let's see. Bishop comes here, just wanting to move the queen from here, just wanting to take another tempo from her. And queen should have moved here, and then the game would have continued. Of course, black would have won this, because now black has this move, beautiful move, attacking the rook. Rook cannot go anywhere. It will eventually fall, and the pressure, immense pressure, is still here. The rook, if black's rook comes here, it's so still a winning position. But white now, probably annoyed and out of time, didn't want to move the queen. It was attacked by the bishop, and white said, "Oh, what the hell? Let's just do something active with the queen. Let's take the bishop. Let's threaten this check here. Let's do something that's active." So I understand white here. He has been moving his queen all the game, and now he just wanted to do something. But this loses on spot. Of course, you all see it. Check with the rook, and what can you do? The only way to block is with the queen or with the bishop. Stockfish highly recommends blocking with the bishop, of course. That's the engine move, because now you save the queen for one move, of course. Now you have to block and then you lose it. So that's that beautiful defensive maneuver by Stockfish didn't happen in the game, but rather white just blocked with the queen instantly, and now you can all see what happens. There is no stopping mate. Check by black. White has to take, and now checkmate. Beautiful finish by black. It only shows that you can beat even more higher rated players than you if you play aggressive openings, if you develop your pieces, if you ask questions to your opponent if you give them something to think about. So look at this beautiful finish. I hope you like this game. I hope you learned something from the Latvian Gambit. And I hope you will send your own games and I will review them like I did this one. So guys, nice hearing from you. And that will be all for now. Bye.